Nobody to root for in this situation. Matt Walsh had an encounter with author J.K. Rowling on Twitter, and he detailed the encounter on his show, The Matt Walsh Show. One time, he talked about the Troll Patrol on The Matt Walsh Show, and he said, I was a formidable voice in the culture.
Justin FREAKIN, the formidable voice in the culture.
Or she can stream. Get drunk and stream. Lean into it. Say you were the drunk news anchor and stream. Go for it. So Matt Walsh returning from his vacation. Let's hear what he has to say about his run-in with J.K. Rowling.
To my show from vacation today, which means that in preparation for this event, I had to make my official return to Twitter yesterday. I had only ventured, back into that overflowing cyber septic tank for a few hours before my name was trending, and I thought that at first, I was trending because everybody was welcome.
Why don't you just get off Twitter if it's an overflowing septic tank? It'd be less of an overflowing septic tank if you weren't there, Matt.
Messages were considerably less friendly. I guess that's no surprise on second thought. The conversation seemed to revolve around a brief argument that I had with J.K. Rowling on Sunday, because of course the first thing that I do when I come back from vacation and I'm really well rested is I pick a fight with a random famous person. But before we get to that, we need to back up all the way to ancient history, which was last Tuesday, when I was still out fishing and the singer Macy Gray was igniting a media firestorm by controversially suggesting that women exist. So during her appearance on Piers Morgan, where I think she was promoting an album or something like that.
Is she relevant? Where did she even, she had that one song in maybe 96, 95. Maybe I'm a little too far back. Maybe it was 97, 98. I try to say goodbye and I choke. Yeah, I fucked it up. Fucked it up real bad. Should have done everybody a favor and stayed on vacation. Matt's entire show is him not understanding anything. I don't think if you look at the engagement that Matt Walsh gets compared to Ben Shapiro, ain't nobody really watching Matt Walsh. Ain't nobody really watching him.
That she, the conversation kind of...
Most of Matt Walsh's views are probably coming from people like me and Vosh, Keffels and shit, watching him and making fun of him.
Shifted to the topic of gender, and Morgan posed the ultimate question, of course, the question of our generation, which Gray had at first no trouble answering at all. I'm sure you've heard this clip already, but let's play it again just for our own.
Oh, let's play. I have not played it, so let's play it.
If I asked you what a woman is, what would you say?
Let's say a human being with boobs. You have to start there.
Yeah, I mean, the dictionary is quite straightforward. It just says a human, adult, female, right?
That is not a good definition.
Yeah, that's a little getting...
Human being with boobs. There are plenty of men with boobs, ma'am.
That's good.
And I'm not sure why, really. It's a bit like this whole issue of transgenders in sport. It's like I support all trans rights to fairness and equality.
Me too.
But not where you have people born to
really?
physical superior bodies.
Me too.
Transitioning and then thrashing the women at their sport.
Oh my God.
And I will say this, and everybody's going to hate me, but as a woman, just because you go change your parts doesn't make you a woman.
Right.
Sorry.
You feel that?
I know that for a fact. If you
what in the world makes you a woman, ma'am?
Because that's what you want. But that doesn't make you a woman just because I call you a her and just because you got a surgery.
So thus began the...
And why are you guys so obsessed with this? Why is so much media dedicated to this?
Gray was reviled by the left, slammed as a transphobe and a bigot, and she's marginalizing and erasing trans people through her refusal to allow women to be marginalized and erased. That's basically the accusation. And meanwhile, on the other side of it, the right hailed her as a hero, a courageous warrior triumphing over cancel culture. She was applauded for standing firm and being bold in the face of the backlash. But the applause as is almost always the case, unfortunately, came too soon. Gray made it all of about 3 days before buckling. And on Thursday of the very same week,
Who
the
cancels
singer
who?
made the traditional pilgrimage to a morning TV show to express her deep regrets and sorrow and to beg for absolution. She explained that over the previous couple of days, the experience of having a bunch of blue-haired freaks screaming
She
at
had
her
some
had been
friends
very
that corrected her
educational and
ass.
enlightening. She'd learned a lot from the blue-haired freaks. That's my words.
She's in
not
the
hers, I'm
entertainment
paraphrasing.
business.
In fact, she learned that everything she thought she knew about the world was wrong. Biology is a myth, and that she, as a woman, doesn't actually exist. She learned all of this in 2 or 3 days. And they had taught her this by crying and screaming. It was the most educational temper tantrum she'd ever witnessed, apparently. Let's watch that.
I never, of course, meant to hurt anybody with what I said. I'm actually a huge. I think it takes a lot of courage to be yourself, to go out in the world and be honest about who you are. And so I think anyone who is in the LGBT community is a hero and sets an example for all of us with that, you know. So I said some things that didn't go over well, but my intention
Understatement.
was never to hurt anybody. I feel bad that I did hurt some people, and I think it's you know, just about education. It's about conversation and us getting to a point where we understand each other, and that only happens with, you know, I've learned a lot through this. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one of the reasons it might have happened. Just it was a huge learning experience for me. You know what? I think you can, like I said in there, you can call yourself you whoever you believe you are, mm-hmm. and no one can dictate that for you or take that away.
What a weird.
I think life is an
interview
education process. The more you sit with people, the more you talk to people, it changes your perspective. So has your perspective changed, do you feel?
I've learned so much, and I think, you know, being a woman is a vibe, and it's something I'm very proud of, and it's very precious to me, and I think that if you, in your heart, feel that that's what you are, then that's what you are, regardless of what anybody says or thinks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's a good thing, you know, that all the groveling bases were covered there. She didn't skip any of the steps. She was very thorough in that way. The script was followed with precision. And though we've grown so accustomed to seeing this pageant of humiliation play out, it never gets any easier to watch, at least not for me anyway. Each time I feel like I'm watching somebody cut their own heart out of their chest. It's grotesque and disgusting and humiliating, but weirdly fascinating. You're just kind of glued to the screen watching this.
That is the way you could describe Matt Walsh's show.
You can't look away as much as you want to, because we know the steps here. Step one, the penitent claims that she's learned a lot and she's been educated. That's the necessary first step. Never explains what she's learned exactly or how she learned it or exactly what insights her critics offered to her. That's because there was no insight, unless guttural screaming and demonic convulsing counts as an insight.
But there was like nobody detailed any guttural
She
screaming.
lays down her offerings at their feet. She bows before them in worship, adoring them, declaring in this case that everybody in the LGBT community is a hero, all of them. Because, of course, it requires true heroism to belong to the most protected, privileged, and coddled and applauded group of people to ever exist on planet.
Really?
That requires heroism.
Really?
And then step three, she finally renounces all of her past beliefs. She renounces reality and truth itself. She renounces her own existence.
The most applauded and appreciated group of like veterans in this country aren't applauded and have their dick sucked. Get a discount everywhere. I don't even know, like, there's no gay discount. You don't go to Bob Evans, get a gay discount, god damn it. We need to demand that. There needs to be a discount for the LGBTQ community during Pride Month. Dustin, what's going on? I want my I suck some cock every now and again discount at Bob Evans. I don't remember Macy Gray butchering the national anthem. I don't watch Sporty Ball.
Really? Proclaiming that, contrary to what she had always thought up until about breakfast time that morning, there is no objective or biological basis to womanhood. Being a woman is, as she put it, a vibe. It's just a vibe. A woman isn't anything, but, if you feel like you are one,
9/11 was a whole vibe.
And what you are is nothing. All women are nothing, and everybody is invited to join them in their nothingness. Now, of course, if being a woman is just a vibe, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense for men to take drugs or get surgeries as part of their transition process. There is no such thing as a vibe surgery. You can't surgically implant or remove a vibe, right? You can't go to the doctor and say, I want to have a certain vibe. Can you give me a certain... That doesn't make any sense. If it's all about the vibe, if it's about the feeling, then the whole gender transition industry makes no sense, and it's built on a false premise. So it turns out that either way, whether the claims made by gender ideology are wrong or right, the whole process of gender transition is nonsense.
Wrong. You are wrong. We are correct here. Let me show you how this is the whole vibe. Transgender brains are more like their desired gender from an early age. Brain activity and structure in transgender adolescents more closely resembles the typical activation patterns of their desired gender, according to findings to be presented in Barcelona at the European Society of Endocrinology annual meeting in 2018. These findings suggest that differences in brain function may occur early in development, and that brain imaging may be a useful tool for earlier identification of transgenderism in young people. So I'm sorry, Matt. It kind of is, a vibe. It kind of is a vibe.
Nonsensical and false, either way. But as we've learned, we cannot expect the proponents of this idea to notice these kinds of contradictions or care about them if they do notice them. This all brings us back to the beginning of our story. I criticized Macy Gray on Twitter for being a gutless coward, which is what she is. And after some pushback to that, I tweeted this.
She gave up to the woke moralist mob who would have canceled her.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
I said, sorry, but women who publicly renounce the definition of woman for fear of mean comments from trans activists deserve all the scorn they get. That kind of gutless cowardice is exactly what got us into this position in the first place. That's what I said. Okay. Now, a little while later, J.K. Rowling, who famously has stood up courageously against the trans mob, responded to me with a defense of Gray and of other women who have similarly folded like cheap lawn chairs. Rowling tweeted in response to me, she said, endless death threats and rape threats, threats of loss of livelihood, employers targeted, physical harassment, family addresses posted online with pictures of bomb-making manuals aren't mean comments. If you don't yet understand what happens to women who stand up on this issue, back off.
Oh, you should imagine what happens to trans people when they're open about just being trans.
As they prefer to call themselves.
If you think that's bad, not to downgrade the plight of women. Women have dicks in their inboxes constantly when they not even when they snub a guy, but when a guy perceives that a woman has snubbed them, they will turn fucking violent on them in a heartbeat. It's the weirdest fucking thing. I do not understand the way men interact with women. I am sorry to women who have to exist in this space. Not to downplay the plight of women, but if you think that is bad, imagine what it's like being a trans person who is open about it. Imagine what it's like being a trans person who is open about being trans.
Quite a lot since my film came out. That it's easy for me. They say I don't know what it's like. Okay, I don't have to make the same kind of sacrifices. I don't put the same things on the line.
My sacrifice.
Nobody attacks me the way they attack women who speak out. And now Rowling, whose courage on this issue, as I said, I really respect, and I've said that many times. is singing the same tune. But she's completely wrong, of course. And it just shows how feminists who criticize the trans agenda, even though they're right about the issue of transgenderism, they're still hamstrung and handicapped by left-wing identity politics.
Hey, Mandy, he's famous enough to know who I am. He called me a formidable voice in the culture.
Justin Freakin, the formidable voice in the culture.
He probably gets like 2,000, 3,000 views on his shit. He's a couple notches above me, I guess, on the ladder.
Politics and victimology. They can't accept an alliance with a man because they resent us for our perceived privilege, even though it's a privilege they've completely invented in their heads. Because the fact is that nearly everything she describes, the things that I can't understand supposedly because they only happen to women supposedly, they have happened to me with great frequency. And for
you're the victim here.
Past month and before that, but especially over the past month. I've had many deaths.
I mean, as I've said numerous times, just people in the public eye get death threats. But I can tell you that I would not trade places with a woman. I would not trade places with a trans person. In terms of public persona, not saying that being a woman or being a trans person wouldn't be cool. Not to degrade the experience, just existing in an online space in which you interact with people. I would not trade my position as a privileged white person, a privileged white man.
Threats. I've been doxxed many times. Okay, the thing is, I don't talk about these things a lot. I mention them here and there. I don't spend a lot of time talking about them, but I can assure you they are happening.
You are right now.
I've been threatened, harassed, insulted. They've tried to deplatform me. They've tried to get me fired. They've tried to get my advertisers to boycott me, etc. And so
I want to say that they claimed that there was a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack on the Daily Wire website when his movie What Is a Woman debuted. That didn't actually happen. What really happened was his website was not equipped to handle all of the traffic because they promoted the hell out of the movie. So the website couldn't handle the traffic and it went down when the movie was supposed to premiere. And then they claimed, that's how dishonest they are, they claimed that the left tried to silence them because they got to play victim. Then it's like, oh, it's the movie the left doesn't want you to see. Yuck, 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 yuck. Fucking bullshit. Matt Walsh, you're full of shit. You're full of shit, Matt Walsh.
Forth over and over and over again. I don't doubt at all that trans activists are vicious monsters towards any woman who defies them. But the operative aspect there is defies them, not woman.
He has made
defiance from anyone. The survival of their
attempt to back
fragile
up that
worldview,
claim
as
at
we've
all.
seen, depends on silencing all of the opposition, no matter who it's coming from. Doesn't matter if it's the idea that if it's coming from a white conservative man that they're going to lay off. No, he's good. He's one of the good ones. Let's leave him alone. It's just, it's hilarious. But here's the thing. If I had over the past month or any
wet mulch, I like it,
cave to the mob and pull a Macy Gray, I would deserve scorn too. Endless amounts of it. Okay? I'm telling you right now, if I ever were to do that, you should scorn me and despise me for that.
I scorn you and despise you as it is right now, Matt Walsh.
I would quite literally rather be dead than surrender to these people. I'd rather take a bullet to the head than debate
I
the
wish.
way Macy Gray did, and it wouldn't even be a difficult choice.
Make my day, Matt.
And I crumbled under the onslaught and turned traitor on truth for the sake of protecting myself. I would be a worse villain.
I think what he's saying is, like, he tried to walk away, but he choked. He's tried to say goodbye, but he crumbled.
In this story than any individual trans militant. Because, as I said, in the
Try to say goodbye and I choke.
got us into this mess.
Try to walk away and I
Why is that?
stumble.
Well,
I didn't like the song.
Because there were never
I've
enough,
really
and
listened
still
to it.
are not enough, trans militants to forcibly drag our society into the mass epidemic of madness that we're currently experiencing. They can't do it on their own without our consent. As much as they would like to, as much as they're trying to, they can't. In order for this to happen, it has required and will continue to require the acquiescence of countless people who know better, who know the truth, but implicitly, or in many cases explicitly, renounce and disavow that knowledge in order to preserve their own comfort and their own safety. But most of the time, it's just their own comfort, because most of the time their safety is not really in jeopardy. Sometimes it is, but in most cases it's not. You know, I really don't think that anyone was going to go kill
I can
Macy
show you the
Gray
statistics, sir.
because of a
They say otherwise.
conversation she had on Piers Morgan. I wouldn't put anything past these people, but I really doubt that was going to happen. What she was trying to protect was her financial security and just her comfort. And really, she just wanted to get along with her Hollywood friends and her friends in the music industry. And that's what she was trying to protect. Every time a coward collapses like this, betraying themselves.
As I said, she probably had a friend that set her fucking straight. That's what happened. Just saying, she has a friend that's got like a trans sister or some shit. Like, hey, let me tell you something. Here's what's up.
Common sense when we are betrayed in this way, as we are so often, they only make it that much harder for whoever the mob turns its sights on next. So it's not a victimless crime here.
The mob, the woke moralists.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
We will see, Jordan.
The mob is emboldened and fueled by every
high
person
enough for
who
this
sells their
shit.
souls to it. They are vultures who feed on the dignity that you abandon and leave on the floor. They feast on your subservience and your submission and your self-debasement. The only way to stop them is to starve them of this fuel, is to look them in the eyes and say, no, I apologize for nothing. I am right, you are wrong. Now go scream about it some more, you damned hobgoblins. I don't care. You don't scare me. And
Nobody's been screaming about anything.
Anything less than that, and you're part of the problem.
We're laughing at you, Matt Walsh. Nobody has been screaming about anything. There's no hobgoblin screaming. You're the one that devoted a whole 15-minute segment to airing your grievances.